Must have been 5 years ago. But I still remember it as if it were only yesterday. My last mission as Lieutenant of the Military Services for International Control. If it wasn't for Hugh, I wouldn't be here today. It's time to repay the debt. Hugh!
Joshua, it's been a long time.
Too long. What's the score?
Always straight to the point. Okay, terrorists have targeted the Genesis cryogenic enterprise. Up to now, we haven't been able to stop them.
So, where do I come in?
I figured you could succeed where others have failed. My position as city governor is at risk. Genesis was my major supporter at the last election. And if I don't get results soon, I'll be history.
Okay, so why these attacks on Genesis?
Who knows? There seems no apparent motive. But I think they're attacking Genesis to get at me.
Yeah, you've made some dangerous enemies.
Comes with the territory. Anyway, we infiltrated the terrorists. My top officer, Simon Ruby, went in. His cover as a journalist seems secure, but...
What went wrong?
It's not clear. We've had no contact with him since yesterday, and that's not Simon's style.
You think they got to him?
We don't know. I hope not. We found these in his car.
Traveling light?
It's all we have. Joshua, I'd like you to start at his apartment. See what else you can find.
Let's assume I find these terrorists. What then?
We'll give you a new identity. I'll add your name to the police database. Your cover will be a guy from New Orleans working in the field of integrated security systems. This guy stole some documents from Genesis. With this cover, you should be able to infiltrate the group.
Good. What should I do if I get to them?
Do nothing. Lie low and let me know where you are. At that point, you'll need serious backup. Take this. Use it to contact me when the time is right.
Okay, Hugh. I'll do my best after all. I owe you one. Later.
Which floor, Mr. Ruby?
To my apartment. Damn, Josh, you look rough. It's the copy of a report that Ruby sent Hugh yesterday morning. Thanks to his cover as a journalist, he's managed to make contact with the suspects. Ruby thinks that there's much more to this than basic terrorism. The suspects seem to be controlled by some greater power. Ruby was due to meet them at 11:30 last night, but it doesn't say where. Down to the subway.
Welcome to Union Metro. Please state your destination.
Rotmal 17.
Please insert 5 credits.
Excuse me, can you break a 10?
Payment confirmed. Subway access expires at midnight.
Hey, buddy, you got any booze?
Typical. Have you seen this man recently?
Yeah, I saw this guy last night. He left the station with a woman.
Any idea who she was?
Ain't got a clue what she's called, but I do know she runs a free climax.
Thanks for the information. Here's 10 credits.
Thanks, buddy. I'll put this to good use.
I'm looking for a friend of mine.
Who are you?
Joshua Reeve. I just got into town.
Business?
Integrated security systems.
What's the name of this friend?
Simon Ruby.
I've never heard of him.
Simon told me he was meeting some people yesterday, but he didn't say who.
The club fills up around midnight. Maybe you'll find him then.
The way you're playing with your necklace? What is it? A religious icon?
It's a memento of the inauguration of the Union Zoo. My father worked there when I was a child. It reminds me of happier days. The zoo was never a great success. It was shut down some time ago.
She runs a joint called the Free Climax. A reason to believe that she was with Ruby yesterday, and she's involved somehow. Ruby's stuff mentioned a deserted tunnel, and Eva spoke of a deserted zoo. Everything seems to point to the subway.
That freaking alarm again.
You gotta admit, Jules, your security system is your greatest triumph.
Your stupid games are beginning to tire me. So go and switch it off.
It's not me. Ah, whatever. But as soon as I've turned it off, I'm going down to the zoo. I'd rather spend some time with Dave. At least he hasn't got a stupid chip on his shoulder.
Not another of that wise-ass Morgan's jokes.
It's a report by some Marcus Sanders concerning a guy called Vizel Moreau. Sanders states he's verified without a doubt that Moreau and Genesis have been linked through the intervention of Martins, for whom Moreau has created a virtual environment. Marcus also states that he's discovered that Moreau's built his own hideout in a private virtual environment which looks like a dark, grotesque horror amusement park. Marcus came across facts which would seem to indicate that Moreau and Genesis were in it together, working on virtual sensory technology known as the VST project. Marcus maintains that the project in question is the work of Moreau, who had to turn to Genesis to fund the project or else cease his experiments. Marcus lost track of Moreau, who hasn't been found for weeks. But just how the hell does Hugh figure in all this? Jesus, Ruby. Syringe might come in useful. It's a medical report on Ruby. 2 hours following the trauma, his condition deteriorated, and he slipped into a deep, irreversible coma, a vegetative state. They extracted a bullet from his left lung, but the extent of the damage has meant he doesn't look good.
I'd like to know how Martin's henchmen managed to find us.
Forget that now. We must continue on from where Sanders left off, looking for something in that damned cyber park.
And after what happened to Sanders, no one's keen to volunteer to go in there. If only that guy who contacted you at the club hadn't disappeared.
I couldn't work out what his purpose was. He was quite vague. Besides, I only spoke to him for a few minutes.
Hey, hold it right there.
Put the gun down. It's the guy from my club, the one I told you about.
How'd you find us? And how did you get in? Jules and Morgan should have stopped you.
Let's just say they became genuinely alarmed, and besides, I didn't know you'd be here. There's a friend of mine half dead back there. How about explaining that for starters?
I'm sorry about Simon, Joshua, but he wasn't the only one.
We need friends right now.
Sure, we're after the same thing.
Ruby was assigned to investigate us by his newspaper, and by a stroke of luck, he managed to find us.
It was vital for us to have a link with the media, so we could expose Genesis. But yesterday's attack screwed everything up.
What attack was this?
Our main HQ was hit last night, and all our equipment was wasted. It's put us back months.
3 of our best men lost their lives. Simon's at death's door, the guy who got us most of our leads, and Marcus Sanders.
Who was Marcus Sanders?
Marcus was with us right from the start. He was investigating Moreau and his VST project, but he was killed while he was connected to cyberspace.
Who was Moreau?
He's an architect of virtual environments developed in cyberspace. Martin's was one of his first customers, and probably he was the catalyst between Genesis and Moreau.
Vincel Moreau would seem to be the creator of the VST project. He was looking for backers.
And he found them in Genesis, right?
What happened afterwards is a mystery.
Some weeks ago, a charred, unidentifiable body was found on the beach in Costa Rica. Moreau disappeared the evening before. The police concluded after no further missing persons report that the body had to be Moreau.
You must realize that we are not a terrorist, we are researchers. We were studying the effects of cyberspace on the human mind, and Marcus Sanders, one of our top researchers, by chance found himself in a bizarre location, a virtual amusement park in a horror setting created by the twisted mind of Moreau. Sanders discovered something there about a mysterious project by the name of VST. From that moment on, strange things began to happen to us. The police refused to investigate. They denied everything. So we decided to begin defending ourselves, and we founded our little organization to investigate Genesis.
When we discovered that Genesis had taken over all Moreau's patents after his disappearance, we knew that what we had discovered about VST was much more serious than we had first thought. Marcus connected to cyberspace to get a hold of more information, but alas, how much he saw we'll never know. He was hit while he was still connected.
Have any of you visited Moreau's amusement park?
No. Only Sanders had that particular pleasure.
Why do you think Martin's is involved?
Because of his links with Genesis, who sponsored him in the last elections. And besides that, Moreau was a close personal friend of his.
In addition, the police closed the file on Sanders' death. It was obvious that there was some kind of cover-up in operation.
Because of this, we needed Simon Ruby's support. He had evidence stolen from Genesis that we could have used to blow the whole thing wide open. So much so that the authorities couldn't just ignore the situation.
People are being rubbed out without a moment's hesitation.
Damn, if they're telling the truth, Hugh owes me one hell of an
Evil and
explanation.
deadly about this VST project.
What now?
We must follow the trail that Sanders left. We have no option but to reconnect with cyberspace and return to the amusement park.
We were hoping that you'd be prepared to lend us a hand, Mr. Reeve.
Hey, I need answers myself. Where do I start? I just gotta get Martin's angle on this story.
Come this way, Mr. Reeve. It's your turn now.
A manuscript. Perhaps my investigation ends here. Packed full of incomprehensible formulae. This is Vizel Moreau's diary. It says that the VST project is almost completed. Wait though. Unfortunately, it appears that the whole process is fundamentally flawed. It seems from new calculations that the degeneration of brain cells caused by VST would be irreversible and fatal within a few months, if not weeks. Moreau now maintains that VST cannot at present be applied to human beings. It's too dangerous. Moreau estimates that it would take at least another 2 years research and massive investment to make the process safe and finalize the project. Alas, this is beyond his reach. With his dream fading and somewhat dejected, he finds himself having to cease his experiments. Other formulae and notes on breakthroughs. There are notes here about Hugh. It looks as though Hugh has put him in contact with a huge conglomerate which is prepared to finance his research, enabling further work on the project. Moreau eventually resumed his work, Genesis Cryogenetics Enterprise putting immense finance and resources at his disposal. Whilst Moreau wasn't completely clear about their commercial objectives, Genesis placed great faith in his work and Moreau responded, happy that he could continue. Here, Hugh Martins is named as a major backer in the project. That VST was saved by Martins. Now Moreau only has to contend with the research times, which he hopes to reduce, thus delivering working technology much sooner than had been hoped. Pages and pages of feverish scribblings. Moreau's tone seems somewhat terrified at the end. He says they're all mad, that they're testing the project on humans now and have been for some time. It just isn't ready. They're using a prison island called Rocas Perdida as a research institute. It's off the coast of Mexico and the prisoners are the guinea pigs. Moreau has tried to rebel, but Martins has refused to listen to reason. The financial potential of the technology is too great. Moreau is sure his life is in danger. He says here that there's nothing he can do but try to escape and alert the authorities. He's left this diary in the hope that someone will find it if his escape bid fails. There's a kind of journal. The address of Hugh's virtual office is underlined. Hugh is out of control. But why did he ask for my help?
Hello, sir. Have you got an appointment?
I need to see Hugh immediately. Joshua Reeve. I'm a personal friend.
Mr. Martins is not in his office at the moment.
To be honest, I'd like to take a look around. Hugh always boasted about his virtual office.
Okay. I'll call you should he return.
I'm happy to wait. Some email between Martins and the head of Genesis. Martin says he's wiped one of the researchers belonging to the group who has discovered information about VST. To eliminate risk, Martins is covering up another strategic elimination. But he fears the researchers have realized they're being tracked and are attempting to organize some kind of resistance factor. Martins apologizes for the problems and financial loss that the rebels are causing Genesis, but assures that the trouble will be dealt with very shortly. Simon Ruby, one of his best agents, has managed to infiltrate them, and that before very long the problem will be resolved once and for all. Ruby has succeeded in providing the coordinates for the secret base. The terrorists are done for. This is Martins' report on the blitz on Al's base. The worm is complaining that some of the rebels got away. He says Simon lost his life in the attack as well, but he harbors no regret. After all, it's one witness less. But for safety's sake, he's contacted an agent with whom he worked in the services. What? Saving my life was a fluke, a pure accident. If the plane I was flying hadn't been laden with drugs, he would have let me burn in hell. He says I'd lay my life down to repay the debt, going on to say that he'll be at the Rockus Perdita all day tomorrow. He'll monitor the finalization of the experiments personally, since that old fool Moreau is increasingly reluctant to carry on. Rockus Perdita. Martins and Genesis can still get away.
We need better evidence. You go with Joshua and prepare the shuttle for the trip. I'll work on a map. The prison is subdivided into sections. Eva and I will try to get into Section B. It's blocked by a high-power security fence. You'll need to use a parallel cutter, an instrument which simulates the voltage passing through the cable to which it's attached. It only works for a few seconds, but it's our only hope.
Shouldn't we work out an escape plan in case something goes wrong?
If anything goes wrong, well... Are you Vizel Moreau?
Yes, and you are?
My name is Reeve. I'm working with an organization that wants to blow Genesis and its sick plans into the open. I know something about the VST project, too.
How come you know about all this?
It's a long story. Some colleagues are waiting for me. We'll be able to get you out. Just cooperate and we'll get you out of here as soon as we can. The only way of getting the cell keys is by going through Sector B. Moreau says that the governor's office is around there and that the keys are there.
We'll stick to the original plan.
You hear me, Al?
I hear you, Joshua.
I'm not sure which is the correct one to cut.
If you mess up, me and Eva are toast.
Okay, I'll get back to you. Al.
Joshua.
Well, I'm ready to cut the current on the security fencing.
We're ready.
Now!
Joshua, we're through. We made it.
Great. Anyone see you?
There was a guard nearby, but we don't think he saw us. We're going inside the prison. All clear. We've crossed into the canteen and kitchen. We're into the corridor, which leads to Sector C. There's a sliding door right at the end. It must be the coded one you mentioned.
Moreau thinks the governor's office is around there somewhere.
There are 2 doors, Joshua. Okay, we're inside the first room. It's empty. It's an office, but it's deserted. We'll try the other door. There's no doubt. This is the governor's office.
Grab anything useful and get out quick.
Eva's found some kind of code and a set of keys.
Lock her up, but place an armed guard outside. I'm not taking any risks. We're sealing this place. No one else must enter or leave. Get on the SAT system and call for reinforcements from Genesis.
Remove that body from my office floor. Yes, sir.
Eva,
Don't worry about me. Try and save yourself.
relax. All is not lost, Eva. If we manage to get the professor out, they're screwed. He's exactly what we need to expose Genesis.
I found something that I think might be some sort of code.
You can pass me the code through your cell door.
There's a guard right outside.
Can't you deal with him?
Face it, Joshua. I'm dead meat.
I'll try and get something to you. Eva, I've got something that might just work. Just be ready to grab the wire that will pass your cell window.
Guard! Can you take it to Martin's? I think he's dead.
I'm coming in.
Joshua, how the hell did you manage to get in here?
The game's up, Hugh. You've screwed me around once too often.
You're crazy. What are you talking about?
Cut that crap, Hugh. Innocents have been killed. The murdering stops here. I know all about VST.
Jesus, I've invested a fortune in this. If it hadn't been for that idiot Moreau and his lack of balls, VST would be operational by now and I'd be a very rich man.
You're insane, Martins. VST is flawed, and you know it.
Look, Joshua, I know how this must seem to you, but you're wrong. What if I was to swing it so that you got a nice little slice yourself, huh? What about 20%? It's a considerably large cake, my friend.
I'm not hungry.
Jesus H. Christ, Joshua! I saved your life, remember? You can't do this to me. You owe me.
Cut that crap, Hugh. That bird was drug running. It was the cargo that was important, not me. For all those years, your sick mind had a hold on me, but no more. The only thing I owe you, old friend, is a bullet.
Look, Reeve, I'll give you 30%. Well, 40 if you want.
30 or 40 is what they'll give you if you're a good boy. The game's up, Hugh. You can shove your blood money, Martins.
Joshua, you did it!
There's no time to lose. Go to the governor's office and use the communication system before it's too late. Martin's called for reinforcements, and it won't be long before this place is crawling with Genesis men.
And as soon as we get the facts out in the open, they'll scatter like the cowards they are.
Go. I'll get Moreau and join you.
This is Katrina LaPlante with the news at 7. Just in, Union City Governor Hugh Martins was arrested earlier this morning following allegations of his involvement in an underground research project involving human experimentation. This project is alleged to have involved human fatalities. Martins is now in custody awaiting trial, and an urgent inquiry into his company, Genesis, is now underway. We cross now to Rockus Perdita, where Martins is being held.
Welcome to Rocas Perdita, where police are still searching for the man who is responsible for bringing Martins to justice. A man to whom much is owed.
Maybe I'll call Eva when the dust is settled. But right now, I need some sleep.